Yeah, it's not just like he changes over the course of the movie. It's literally from sentence to sentence. It's completely different. It makes me miss his characterization in Con Air, if that tells you anything. Welcome to Your Inner Child is an Idiot, the podcast where we look back on things from our childhood and see if they were any good. My name is DJ.
My name's Damon. Hello.
I started to trip up, so I started to articulate more precisely.
I like that. It made me listen more intently.
It's like when you trip on the sidewalk, but you start jogging. Everybody knows what just happened, but I'm going to just go a little faster.
I mean, I feel we're just stealing that old Ellen DeGeneres bit from the 80s, but you can also look behind you to make sure that everyone knows that you tripped over a specific thing. You're not just like an idiot.
This is an episode where we're going to talk about The Rock that we just tripped over, not the film The Rock.
Oh, you brought it back. You were able to rescue the bit.
Yeah.
Our audience is probably mopping their brow now. They're like, whew, that was harrowing. But they saved it.
This is a movie from 1996 starring Nicolas Cage. Starring Sean Connery.
Nicholas Coppola?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Nicky Coppola, and we're Ed Harris. And more people, I assume.
Sean Connery, the aggressively Scottish Sean Connery.
And it was a movie that was well ahead of its time. Because while Rocky Maivia was in wrestling at this time, he hadn't become... quite, the upper echelon of wrestling like he became. And then, of course, becoming Dwayne The Rock Johnson and then just Dwayne Johnson. We dropped The Rock. But don't drop The Rock. Drop The Rock. Don't drop. Anyway, sorry. I got caught up in...
I can go. I can just leave.
I got this one,
You seem to be doing banter with yourself.
Here's the problem.
Yeah. Lay it on me.
Because this is not actually about the wrestler The Rock, it is about Alcatraz. I don't have much to say about in the intro because I do not remember much about this other than Sean Connery has long hair at one point, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absurd that
it's absurd that they try and trick me into thinking he has any hair most of the time. Like, come on. Yeah. Just give him the bucket hat from Indiana Jones 3. Stop trying to trick me. Medicine Man. I remember them they put that lace front on Sean Connery. I'm like, not today, Satan. I know what's going on here. Actually, as a kid, it really threw me off. I was like, so is he bald or is he not bald? Because it was a 50-50 shot with Sean Connery in that era.
And we gotta right up front talk about his willingness to
beat women. And to gloat about it.
How cool he thinks that is. And
I
gotta say, I don't think that's cool at all. So I'm going to just go ahead and take a stand on this right now.
DJ, has anyone told you you're brave today? Because you are. You're one of the greatest heroes.
No, I don't think so, but yes.
No. Oh, he's dead. Don't forget he's dead.
Yeah, Sean Connery is dead.
I forgot he died. 2020.
Yeah. Well, we lost a lot of people. It's hard to keep track.
Oh, feels good to laugh, says Damon.
You laughed a little too hard. How many people we lost?
Yes, I have seen this movie. The weird thing about the 90s is we were very paranoid about terrorists, but not as paranoid as we should have been in retrospect.
Yeah, somehow we were under...
We were underprepared but over-paranoid about terrorism, and we were very concerned that terrorists might take over tourist attractions, apparently, is the basis of this movie. Because Alcatraz, even at this time, is not a working prison. It's a tourist site. You can go see, and, Mom will be like, we're going to Alcatraz today. And I'm like, Mom...
We can go to Ghirardelli's first if you're good. Okay.
Oh, it's the other side of town. Is it? I don't know.
I have no idea. No one knows, actually.
It's so hilly, but...
We'll go down Lombard Street, and then we'll hit Ghirardelli's, and then we'll go to The Rock.
Then for dinner, we're going to the Stinkin' Rose, so wear something nice.
I don't know that one.
It's an Italian restaurant I went to in San Francisco.
We'll go to PPQ's Dungeness Crab Island.
We're going to walk the Golden Gate Bridge. We're going to stop a suicide. I have it all arranged. It's part of our B&B. They send a suicidal person down, and we have to stop them. It's fun. They say it's fun.
If you brush your teeth, we'll go across to Sausalito.
We'll get some of those cookies that they're always advertising.
I
don't know why my mom is slowly evolving into Linda Belcher over the course of this trip to San Francisco that we went on.
This is only the barest tangentially related to what we're talking about, but that Sausalito commercial.
Sausalito?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, something happens. They're on an airplane and like the cookie gets flipped up in the air and it just lands on the guy's tray. And he like looks down and from the angle, it kind of looks like he's looking at his junk and he goes, Sausalito. We used to do that all the time. We'd like point at our, we were mature children.
Which one is the Sausalito cookie?
Isn't it like got a bunch of different things in it, like nuts and chocolate chips and stuff?
Oh, is it got macadamia nuts?
I think so.
Is that I'm doing the hand thing, meaning the money, because of the macadamia nuts. They're so expensive.
Sausalito cookie. This is important.
This is good. Keep this. This is all great.
Oh yeah, it's got crispy milk chocolate macadamia cookies. So
crispy milk? Is that what you said to me? Oh, okay.
Milk chocolate. So
crispy milk.
Anyway, The Rock the movie. So yeah, I always get this one confused with Con Air. So
it tells you in the beginning it's in the air. This one's on a rock, and Ed Harris plays a terrorist.
You're going to tell me there's no air in this movie? Is that what you're about to tell me?
Takes place in the vacuum of space in San Francisco. Ed Harris plays a terrorist group that has taken over the titular rock, and Nick Cage plays from the government who needs to rescue the rock, but there's only been one man who ever escaped the rock when it was still a prison, and they need to get him. Guess who that is? Mush.
Yeah.
So they get him, and they have to break into the rock to save the rock.
Wow.
And I bet some people get shot along the way. Bald men, can't trust them.
Yeah.
Says Sean Connery with his long hair wig. Oh, I don't like the look of that bald fella. Flawless.
What is your general vibe with Ed Harris? How do you feel about Ed Harris?
In terms of, could he get it? Is that what you're asking?
Listen, that was the
subtext. Answer the question.
That was the subtext, but yes.
Is he wearing the Kangol hat from The Truman Show? Answer me that.
In this movie, I do not think he is.
He can get it.
Okay. Yeah, the Kangol hat is the deal breaker for you.
That's got a good head shape.
Get out of here with your muscles.
I think sometimes bald men overestimate their head shape for like going full
hat,
shave the whole thing.
Yeah.
But Ed Harris, I'm assuming he is completely bald in this. He may not be, but he's got a good head shape. I feel like it comes to a slight peak, which is kind of like, okay, you were born vaginally, is what I take from that. He also, I mean, he's keeping it toit, as you straight men would say. So,
oh yeah, I say that all the time about Ed Harris.
Absolutely.
I think I like him as an actor. I think he's very skeletal looking.
Oh, okay.
And this is not, of course, now he's much older, but even in the 90s, he's always had that kind of, and it's part of is because he kept
because there's no hair on him. Like a skeleton doesn't have hair, you know? But, it would be weird if you saw a skeleton with hair.
But it's not just the lack of hair. It's that you can see the indentations on the side of his skull. Yeah. And that's not everyone, no matter how shaved their head is.
I've been working out my temples.
Yeah.
My trainer says I'm making progress, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
All I see is the vein. But I like an Ed Harris. I like it when he plays bad guys.
I feel like he's very intense.
Yeah.
In general.
Eyes.
I'm trying to think of Ed Harris movies I've seen. Truman Show.
Milk Money. Apollo 13.
Milk Money was your opener. Milk Money. The Audacity.
Westworld.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's playing the man in black in Westworld. He's very intense in that one.
Listen, I'm going to reveal something a little behind the curtain for our audience here. We got nothing left about this movie. We need to just watch it. Why don't you watch along with us? We'll make a decision from the present about our opinion from the past.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. We'll do that.
Okay. Watch along with us. We'll be back.
Yeah, it does start at 6. What's that about?
I don't know.
Oh, there's 5 people in here now. That can't be us.
No, I don't understand. Listen, Xanthopoulos.
Oh, yeah?
You're playing by your own rules. I brought you on this squad, crack squad of Navy SEALs, I guess.
I want to say special ops. Is that?
Special ops. And
Marines. They're all Marines. Remember? We're Marines, you know?
You're too busy playing by your own rules. I need your microphone, your gun, and your badge on my desk.
Do we have badges in the Marines?
And report to patreon.com/your inner child is an idiot.
Oh, see, I didn't even see where it was going.
Which is like the Alcatraz of places to... Oof, I am having trouble getting out of this one.
In that it's mostly
just like
a tourist
Alcatraz.
Attraction, and there's sometimes seals on the rocks.
But it's a great place to support a podcast. See, I can get it back to The Rock / Alcatraz.
Okay.
I can't get it back to patreon.com/your inner child.
Well, you started at The Rock. You already went to The Rock. You started at Patreon, went to The Rock.
That's why it was so easy.
It's not easy to get back.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if you really got to The Rock. You're on the ferry.
Yeah.
You paid for your ticket. You may not even be on the ferry yet. You're in that awkward period where you bought the ticket, but the ferry's not back yet. So you're just like having to make small talk with your wife's parents.
And you're just like,
oh yeah, it is a little cold. It's California. You always associate with heat, but it's actually a little chilly. Should have brought like a cotton sweater.
Vending machines, but it's just like plain Fritos.
Hey, what the hell is that about?
Plain Fritos are fine if you got a dip.
What Fritos should I be getting? I swear to God, I will walk off this podcast.
Chili cheese. Patreon.com/your inner child is an idiot.
It's disgusting.
Wow, that's the worst commercial we've ever done.
It's definitely not the best. It's definitely not the best.
Okay, I'm going to recap this movie. You ready?
Oh, I was going to force you to do it anyway. So good. I want you to. I'll go ahead and mute. Is that okay?
Not necessary, but sure. I don't remember anyone's name in this movie.
Oh, I know one name.
Stanley Goodspeed.
Is that a stupid name? Or
I'm sorry, is that the dumbest name I've ever heard? Is that the origin of that?
You see, he's good at speedily diffusing a bomb.
He's a chemical weapons specialist for the FBI. He gets called because some disgruntled military vets who are angry with the government's treatment of veterans, which, fair, decide to take a bunch of tourists hostage on Alcatraz, and they take over The Rock, the titular The Rock. And they have a bunch of chemical weapons, and so the government calls him in, hey, we need a chemical weapons expert. We don't know how to infiltrate The Rock. There's no one who knows that. The last warden is dead. It's a tourist destination now. No one knows.
Wow. You're really actually drawing me in. Keep going.
Maybe for the one
elevator
person.
Pitch. Yeah.
The one person who has ever escaped from The Rock. Wait, no one's ever escaped from The Rock?
Yeah, I just wanted to... Yeah, I was a little confused there because it's kind of known
You don't
know
about it.
Okay.
You don't know about it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
And his name is...
Yes. I know his name.
Sean Connery.
Yes, that was actually his name. Sean Connery has... Once he got to a certain level of stardom, he was like, all my characters.
Mason?
The Tony Danza rule. All my characters will be known as Sean Connery going forward. Thank you.
Mason? What is it? Taylor Mason? John Mason.
Scottish people are not a protected class, so we can do funny accents.
I'll be doing Sean Connery, although I don't know any other people in the world who have his accent.
It is not a Scottish accent. It is a Sean Connery accent. So go fuck yourself.
He agrees with some cajoling to help the FBI.
That's a good description of a completely arbitrary car chase.
Infiltrate The Rock to help. And Stanley Goodspeed, he's going to need to be on site.
Every time you say it hits me anew that it's one of the dumbest names I've ever seen in a movie.
Stanley Goodspeed, you mean?
It's a dumb name.
Detective Agent Special in Charge, Dr. Stanley Goodspeed.
I didn't go to 7 years of good speeding school just to be called Mr. Goodspeed.
They go on The Rock. Everybody else on the team is murdered by these bad military guys. The good military guys are murdered by the bad military guys. And only Goodspeed and Mason are left. And yet they prevail somehow. Mostly because the bad guys murder each other. And there's only bad guys left. And the good bad guys are dead. And through a series of comical murders, Goodspeed and Mason prevail. And they save the tourists.
Do we even see them save the tourists? Is that just an assumed saving of the tourists?
They're pretty much a non-entity. They make a couple of appearances.
After Act 1, it's like, you remember the tourists. Just keep that in your brain. We're not going to be going back to them anytime soon.
Hey, Goodspeed, what happened to Mason? He's dead.
Wow. And he was really dead. They had evidence of his body. He was deceased?
He was vaporized, a.k.a. he escaped to somewhere.
Mason.
But don't worry, he tells Goodspeed where the microfilm, which I had forgotten about by that point, is hidden in a church in Kansas. So we get a little like nod Mexico. To the...
Wasn't there a Spanish priest?
He was speaking English. He was like, "You come back here." It was very weird, but it was in English. And that's it.
Yeah.
Michael Bay joint, Bruckheimer produced, Don Simpson, R.I.P.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not laughing at the death of Don Simpson, but yes.
Yeah, wow.
As my psychiatrist will tell you, I am a monster.
When you think of Michael Bay, what do you think of?
Flowers, just beautifully progressive gender politics. I think of strong characters, stunning dialogue, light on the action sequences.
Yeah. He comes from the French filmmaking school.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely a Godard acolyte.
Yeah.
Definitely. First off, I just want to say titular. When you mentioned titular The Rock, I just want to say that has become a very cliche joke. He never fails to make me laugh. Referring to something as the titular Rock.
I like also saying the titular The Rock.
Michael Bay, I think of this movie, even though this is the first time I've seen it in nigh on to 20 years. I say because I'm an old Western curmudgeon.
Oh, pert near.
And I think of Connor.
Sure.
Connor. And Transformers, possibly.
I think
that seems to be where his career has sort of been spiraling, right?
Yeah, I usually think of
that.
Transformers. I think I didn't realize this was him. But this might be the platonic form of a Michael Bay movie. I'm not going to declare that, but I'm going to put that forward as a possibility.
It is his own favorite of his movies. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
At least according to whatever 15-year-old filled out the trivia card on IMDb.
It feels true, and isn't that the most important thing?
In this current media age, yes. I feel like we can't go any further because we did mention Sean Connery's proclivity towards wife beating in the intro. While I don't think Michael Bay has ever been accused of anything so egregious, it should be noted that many of his female stars have accused him of just general douchebaggery, which I feel like is not surprising, but should be stated nonetheless. Megan Fox, probably the most prominent among them, who has said she had a terrible time dealing with him being just a lech on the Transformers set.
Yeah, I mean,
never doing anything... Your Honor, legally untoward, but just being a fucking creep in a verbal way.
I mean, and that's a surprise to absolutely no one.
Absolutely not. Because the women in this movie exist as sort of vessels for male pathos, but otherwise are indistinguishable from one another.
Well, we're there. Let's talk about the fiance. Like, what the fuck is even going on here with Dr. Stanley Goodspeed has
the soon-to-be Mrs. Goodspeed, I assume. Because this is a Michael Bay movie, I can only assume she'll be taking his terrible name.
Well, I mean, with a name like that, you gotta. I mean, if I married a woman, I would take her last name if it was Goodspeed. That's amazing. DJ Goodspeed? Are you kidding me?
DJ Goodspeed sounds like the name a DJ would give himself. I almost said good DJ, and I apologize.
Good no DJ Goodspeed.
Vanessa Marcel plays Carla. Hold on. I've actually got a character name. I don't know if it's ever actually said in the movie, but she does play Carla Pestalozzi. She's a good Catholic girl. She's gotten preggers from the Goodspeedin', and presumably she got pregnant on a rooftop. That's the place we see them fuck in this movie in a very...
It looks like a set from one of the Ninja Turtles movies we just watched.
It is. It's definitely not a rooftop you've ever seen in your life. It's got beautiful skylighting and plants, and it's a great place for a good short trip to Pound Town. I assume Goodspeed applies to that as well. He's gotten it down to 45 seconds. He does take calls during the middle of fucking, just in case any future Mrs. Goodspeeds would like to know. He will take a call from the office in the midst of penetrating a woman. Which is another charming trait that Nicolas Cage and Michael Bay have worked up for Mr. Goodspeed.
I cannot pin down, and I don't think it's possible, but I cannot pin down exactly what his character traits are.
I mean, that is probably my biggest... I mean, I don't want to get away from the well-formed female characters of this movie, but the main gist of this movie is that it feels like Nicolas Cage is trying to portray a particular character, but it just feels like a loose bag of quirks. that don't ever gel into something I would remotely recognize as a person. And I feel like this may be the beginning of the modern day, the meme-ified Nicolas Cage, because it's so bonkers, for lack of a better term. It's almost cliche to even try and describe Nicolas Cage's performance as bonkers. But especially watching something like Moonstruck a few episodes ago, and then watching this, I'm like, I mean, Moonstruck, he's also bonkers, but still seems like a person. And this, he's just a bag of tricks.
Yeah, you can tell he's like pitting on something. Okay, my guy doesn't curse, so I'm gonna say geez Louise and stuff, which I didn't even notice until reading letter. It was just like so strange. All the dialogue in this movie is so weird that like that doesn't really stand out. It more stands out that the other characters are like, how the damn hell do you think you're gonna damn do that to like, you're just like, just take another pass at this.
Nope,
you don't have to do this. Because he's like got kind of a, not womanizing, but like doesn't react the best when he finds out that his girlfriend is pregnant and that he's going to be a father.
Yeah. While she walks in and says, I had a tough day. And he's like, let me talk about my day first, which was another great intro to a male character as he talks over his girlfriend trying to express how her day went. He's naked and playing guitar. And then she tells him he's pregnant. Now, DJ.
Yeah.
You may not be an expert, but you're closer to an expert on the subject than I would be.
Oh, yeah?
What pregnancy test is just a glass vial with blue liquid in it? Is that a brand that's available for purchase on pharmacy shelves? I mean, at first I was like, I wouldn't know. The people I'm doing things with don't have uteruses that I know of. So why?
I also like that, presumably...
Why is it in this little glass vial?
I know that it's a movie. They probably just wanted her to have something to show, but it's also like, she even said, like, I took a pregnancy test. Mm-hmm. It turned out positive. So I went to the doctor to confirm it. All good steps. That is, she probably had a suspicion, a feeling. Maybe she was feeling a little queasy. Maybe she'd missed her period, all that kind of stuff. Took it over the counter in a blue vial, I guess. Kept that test. Kept the blue vial of presumably her pee mixed with some chemicals. Sloshing around in the purse.
Just in your pocket. That little clutch. Fifth pocket if you're wearing some Levi's.
And then went to the doctor. All good. The doctor's like, yep, you're pregnant. Then she came back, showed the vial. She's like, well,
her testimony will not be enough for Mr. Goodspeed. Yeah. We're going to need to see a vial of liquid you've miturated in.
And what is her, like, because she does come back in the movie, because she asks him to marry her, and he says yes eventually, kind of weirdly.
Eventually, like at least like 3 or 4 scenes later. Yeah. He eventually is like, yeah, man. Actually, I believe during the rooftop fuck, they sort of sorted out in a very unromantic fashion.
Yeah, they're bumping uglies on the roof, and then he gets the call from the FBI, which he does work for the FBI, so sure, and it does turn out to be a pretty important.
But he also thinks it's a drill. Like he says, true. I got to take this call while I'm inside you, but I also think it's just a work drill, and it's not that important. Why don't you come with me to San Francisco?
Well, it's like, I'm sure it's important to answer the phone when the FBI calls, but you know, like, how much longer could it possibly be? The
bathroom knows that bathrooms exist. You might be on the toilet.
Yeah. So anyway, he answers the phone, finds out he's got to go to San Francisco. And so he's like, why don't you just come with me?
Because he still thinks it's a drill, yeah.
Yeah. And then she's really excited because he's agreed to marry her and she can go on this trip. She's like, okay. And then later we find out she's mad because he finds out what's going on exactly when he does get to San Francisco. And he's like, don't come. And she's like, no, I'm coming, hangs up. But then it's a while later when she gets there and he's on the Rock because he finds out he has to go to the Rock, the titular The Rock. And
the eponymous Rock.
She then plays the role of, I just don't understand what we're doing with her.
I believe that will be a statement the director would also have been saying.
Yeah.
She sort of plays the role of the women in Armageddon, like Arwen in Armageddon, where she just is supposed to stand in the NASA control room and sort of hope that the guys in her life are okay.
Yeah.
Is that also Michael Bay? Armageddon? I believe it is. I mean, I think you're circling around the same thing I had. My problem with Nicolas Cage is like, I couldn't tell if he was supposed to be this like very specific guy that they brought on the team. I mean, plot-wise, that is his role. He's brought because he's aware of this gas that can turn your insides on the outside or whatever it does. But he also is a lover of women. He will fuck you on a romantic rooftop. He's also a stunt driver, but he's also very nervous about going on this mission and very antsy and scared. But he'll also, threaten you with a gun, even though he has no training with guns. He's also a beetle maniac. He also will quip while killing guys, even though presumably he's never killed a person in his life. He's just like all over the place. And actually the thing I thought about while I was watching the stupid, although impossibly the best way possible, car chase that's in the middle of this movie is that sort of the complaint that guys have about the Mary Sue type characters in movies. I remember learning this term when Rey became a character in The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm. She's too good too quickly.
She's too good too quickly. This idea that, and then this is a sort of a slur sort of thrown around at almost exclusively female characters. But Nicolas Cage is a total Mary Sue in this. Yeah. Like he's supposed to be this bomb diffuser, essentially, that all of a sudden is able to keep up with cops and the FBI during a car chase through San Francisco.
Finally, we get a car chase in San Francisco.
Finally, this city's been begging for it. He is able to competently drive in a way that's very reminiscent, of course, of Michael Bay's other movie, Gone in 60 Seconds. I think that's Michael Bay. It's at least Jerry Bruckheimer. And it's so ludicrous that I don't know what this character is supposed to be. It just feels like they went to the characterization store, put their arm in the shelf and just walked down the shelf with their cart and just put everything into it. He's just all over the place. And I didn't know what I was supposed to be feeling towards this kid. Like the moment where he's on the helicopter going to the rock and he's antsy and nervous. I'm like, okay, maybe I've got a beat on this guy.
Right.
But then it seems like Nicolas Cage is just constantly screaming and being sort of antagonistic in a weird, brave, quote, quote, way with the villains and the enemies. And I'm like, would you be like that if you were so nervous about going on this mission in the first place? I do not understand what you're supposed to be. And Sean Connery is playing Sean Connery out of the box. And that's fine. Sean Connery does it. He's basically playing what if James Bond had been imprisoned wrongfully for 30 years.
He'd be kind of pissy about it.
Yeah. And he plays that James Bondish character very well. And he does it with aplomb in this movie. But Nicolas Cage is so all over the place that I don't know what I'm supposed to think about him.
Well, the weird thing is, it's not like they didn't spend time on it. It feels like whenever you see a really intricate piece of art that someone spent a lot of time on, it's made of ketchup packets or something, and you're like, I know you worked really hard on this, but I don't get it.
Right. No, yeah, it feels like it's like doing a jigsaw puzzle with my mom, and I'm just watching her put two pieces that just clearly do not go together, and she's just sort of I'm like, no, this isn't a character you've created. These are just pieces that you've just sort of shoved into each other, and you're hoping that will work. If Nicolas Cage had sort of just played it boring, I guess it would be more forgettable, but I would understand what this character is supposed to be. But this is just, it's oddly transfixing to watch. There's a weird non-resentment that I have towards him. I never know what he's going to do next. And I don't mean that in the way that people would usually mean it. I mean that he just seems completely different from scene to scene.
Yeah, it's not just he changes over the course of the movie. It's literally from sentence to sentence. It's completely different. It makes me miss his characterization in Con Air, if that tells you anything.
Put the bunny down. Well, that was, the other thing in Con Air, the women, again, in this movie are very mistreated because they are literally there to exist to give these men some sort of backstory and pathos. Whereas I'm not saying that Michael Bay treats women better in Con Air. They're sort of fill the same role there as well. But at least they're integrated in the story at a little bit more natural way, where Nicolas Cage in Con Air has been sent to prison after killing men defending his wife, and he wants to go back to his wife and his young daughter. That is the pathos of that movie, but it's integrated seamlessly into it. This just seems like Sean Connery going, I want you to see your baby. I don't want your baby to be born without a father. And There's this whole car chase through San Francisco that just ends with Sean Connery revealing, oh my gosh, Claire Forlani is my daughter and I never got to meet her. Do we ever see Claire Forlani for the rest of the movie?
No.
Not important. She's just there to be a vessel of emotion for Sean Connery and just like the barest hint of it. Claire Forlani, by the way, I did consider one of those that guys in this movie, which is a movie rife with that guy. She is one of the few female that guys in this movie.
Let's get to it. I want to get to that. We both recognize that this is a extremely recognizable character actor filled movie.
It is pushing the legal limits of the amount of that guys you can have in a movie. That
guy, the movie, as you named it.
Here's what I've got listed. I'll just list them off. Willie Garson, probably best known for Sex and the City. He's briefly out of focus in a scene.
Yeah.
Philip Baker Hall, Lieutenant Bookman, the library detective from Seinfeld, and in many other, I believe also The Truman Show with Ed Harris as well. John Spencer, who is Leo Garrity from The West Wing, who is the guy in the terrible tuxedo at the beginning. Yeah. David Morse, who's the baby-faced bad guy, sort of Ed Harris's right-hand man.
The guy from The Green Mile and...
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
What else was he in? Hurt Locker, Contact.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He's great. Michael Biehn, probably best known for Terminator, but he was also in Aliens. Never makes out of a movie alive, that Michael Biehn. He's a proto Sean Bean. He's not, if you have Michael Biehn in a movie, he's not going to make it to Act 3.
Michael, I don't know that guy. Let's see.
He is sent by John Connor to alert Sarah Connor about the Terminator. He's the sort of 6 out of 10 guy that is sent. He's also in Aliens. He's the 6 out of 10 guy that Sigourney Weaver ends up with, dies during the interstitial between Aliens and Alien to the third power. You got John C. McGinley, best known from Scrubs.
And he's one of the Bobs in Office Space.
Oh, yeah. Tony Todd, best known as Candyman.
Yes.
Anthony Clark, I wrote that name down. I think he's the Steve Zahn, the not quite Steve Zahn that we get at the end.
Oh, yeah, was he? I recognize him from something specifically.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Anthony Clark is the gay barber in that very touching, a GLAAD award-winning scene of Sean Connery getting a haircut from a very effete barber.
He just wants...
Or hairstylist, as he would have said.
He just wants Sean Connery to be happy with his haircut. That's all he wants.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Call me a homophobe and send me to hell. That line did make me laugh.
That was pretty funny. And also is totally something I would say, even as a straight man, if I were,
cutting people's hair.
In that situation. I'm terrified for my life. I just hope you're happy with your haircut.
William Forsythe, who is just like if cheekbones could become a person.
Dick Tracy. He was in Dick Tracy.
He's a very Dick Tracy.
Flat top.
Is it? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that is. Oh, my God. Claire Forlani, already discussed. A name I know from the 90s.
That's
okay.
I know from.
All right.
And she's the love interest in Mallrat.
Okay.
Mystery Men. And Meet Joe Black.
Oh, okay. She's one of those names that like Rebecca Gayheart that I'm like, I know you from a decade and that's all. I know you're a person from the 90s.
Gregory Sporliter? I don't know if that's how you say his name. That's the guy that I recognize. He's kind of the not Steve Zahn. And I recognize him mostly from Renaissance Man, the DeVito joint.
Renaissance. Favorite of Harry Xanthopoulos.
He was apparently in Twister too, but I don't remember what he played in.
He actually looks like if Steve Zahn and Will Forte had a baby.
Yes.
Good luck, fellas.
There's so many. There's so many.
And my last one was Danny Nucci, who is probably best known for me for being the Italian Fabrizio in Titanic, who screams out "Bastardo" at someone, which I really appreciated. He doesn't make it out of this movie either. Sorry.
Oh, and Steve Harris.
Who's that?
He's the bald black guy he's been in a lot of...
he's in Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I know him from that. But I think he's been in a lot of things.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Tyler Perry's Diary of a Mad Black Woman, The Practice. He's the boo-hiss, like, evil villain of an ex-husband in Diary of a Mad Black Woman. He's the man who drives the woman mad.
Oh. Okay.
Good for him.
So anyway, I'm sure we didn't get exactly everyone, but that's what we're talking about. That's the volume of character actors.
Yes. And you don't know any of those names, but if you Google those names and you're around our age, you will recognize each and every one of those people.
It's hard to get past because there's so many of that guys that as you're watching, you're just like, oh, where do I know that fucking guy from?
That guy. Pause the movie again, Tyler. Yeah, exactly. I got to look up this guy.
I wish I had written down more dialogue because I mostly
the dialogue is deranged in this movie.
Because let's talk about Ed Harris's character for a second, because the movie starts with he's the presumptive villain of the movie. He's the one that takes the people hostage. But before that all goes down, we see him visiting his wife's grave, and he says, "I miss you so much. There's something I got to do, Barb."
Yeah,
which is something I want to say. I want to work that into my vernacular.
You're going to have to get married to a woman named Barb.
No,
let her die. And also plan to have done something that you couldn't have done while she was alive.
I've known a couple of Barbs in my life. I could stand some more.
He leaves his Congressional Medal of Honor on her gravestone.
He's got 15 Purple Hearts. He's been like, they love to list
hold on. Before we get to that, because that scene is also deranged, I want to point out, and this is nitpicky, and I'm being bitchy, and I will readily accept that.
Oh, you're so catty today.
Oh! It is raining when he leaves, of course, his Congressional Medal of Honor on Barb's stone. It's also partly cloudy if you look behind him. Sorry, Michael Bay, that's not how rain works.
That is catty.
Oh, where's he coming with this? Michael Bay is also like throwing out a fan and fanning himself. Yes, so that scene when Ed Harris first takes over The Rock.
Sorry, there's another that guy. The guy that plays Tuco in Breaking Bad.
Oh, I don't know Breaking Bad. Who is that? Tuco?
Tuco, he's like one of the villains in Breaking Bad and is played by...
Oh, I see now.
Raymond Cruz. He's just one of the soldiers, one of the
Is he one of the good ones or one of the bad ones?
He's on the bad guy team. He's on the bad team.
Yeah, I think I recognized him as the cute soldier. Bad soldier. And he doesn't make it very long.
No, he doesn't.
The pretty boys in these type of movies don't last very long. I've noticed in my many years watching these terrible action movies. He had the pretty face.
Oh. Sorry, you were talking about Ed Harris. Sorry.
So when he first takes over The Rock, there's such a stupid scene of him basically doing a Zoom real quick with most of the cabinet and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And Tyler kept asking, where is the camera he's looking into? Because when we would see him in Alcatraz, he would just be on the phone. But then when we would be in the war room or whatever, he would be looking directly into a camera. And we're like, where is this camera located, Ed? That's also catty. But there's this scene where the president's chief of staff is like, hey, what's the deal here? And he's like, who are you? Name and rank. And he's like, my name's David Poindexter and I'm the chief of staff. And he's like, fuck you or whatever. And I'm like, okay, there's no reason to be just attacking people just because there was a weird vibe of like, if you're not in the military, you can't talk to anyone in the military, which I thought would be like something that the movie was kind of showing what an asshole Ed Harris was. But then I realized, oh no, the movie's kind of on Ed Harris's side. So, okay, fuck off, movie.
Yeah.
There can't be any civilian oversight for the military, I guess. Fuck off. But there's a guy, the chief of staff, after the phone call or before it, who cares, is talking to one of the Marine commandant or general or whatever. And he's like, yeah, he's got 1,600 Purple Hearts. He's got 1,200 Medals of Honor. He's been commended by 17 presidents. And he's like, well, yeah, he's also like, we can add kidnapping and extortion to his rap sheet now, too. And the guy's like, he's a fucking hero. And I'm like, no, what the guy just said is correct. He has now imprisoned like 50 civilians in a tourist destination and is threatening to murder a city. So I think we can maybe speak ill of him. I think this is one of the few times when we don't need the nuance of... a man's whole career, we can finally say, hey, I'm starting to think that guy's a fucking asshole.
He's a bit of a D-bag, I think.
So Osama bin Laden, he's a terrorist. Yeah, well, he's also from a prominent Arab construction family. So, how about you show some fucking respect?
Oh, he was trained by the Russian army, so I don't know if you want to denigrate that.
In a way, he's a soldier, so you want to make fun of the troops? Is that what you're saying?
You're saying you don't support their troops.
You don't support our or their troops, and you're anti-Osama bin Laden, a human monster. Is that what you're saying?
Anyway, so Ed Harris's character is kind of complex in a Michael Bay movie sort of way. Because he
That's
starts
an
this whole
important caveat,
thing.
But yes.
Yeah, this is his whole plan. He's going to take the Rock hostage, and he's threatening to shoot chemical weapons. But we learn later that he actually has no intention of actually doing this. He's trying to get...
By learning later, we only learn it in Act 3. Like, it's kind of the twist to the movie.
Right. Their bluff has been called, so he launches missile, but he puts in the wrong coordinates on purpose, so it goes into the ocean. And presumably kills a lot of marine life, right? I mean, these are still chemical weapons.
Oh, yeah, and I can't imagine that gas being in the water is good, right? Because water evaporates and then that gas goes into the air, which was what we were so fucking worried about, right? Am I wrong here, Michael? Michael? Uh-oh, Benny boy. Oh, no. Secrets.
Is this the podcast happening right now?
It is.
Yes, this is
we are
it.
recording.
Oh, God. And the quality is going to be so bad because I'm just using my MacBook Pro microphone. It's such a
special
bad look
guest.
For me. It's such a bad look. I know. I'm in bed right now.
You're in bed?
Yeah. I'm editing from bed.
Damon, Benny. Damon.
Hello, Benny. How are you?
Great to meet you. I feel like I know you so well.
I imagine you've heard me screaming several times into a microphone.
I've listened to like hundreds of hours of you at this point, So what are we talking about?
We're talking about The Rock and Ed Harris's very confusing plan for getting honorifics for special ops people in the plot.
I'm certainly not qualified to be a part of this conversation. I really should just leave you two to it. But it's so nice to join you for a moment. I'll let you guys decide.
Nice to meet you.
I'll let you decide if any of this stays in.
Yeah.
When I noticed we went to 3, I'm like, this is it. Because we've been paranoid about this number in the corner that's like, changes from time to time from 4 to 5 to 6.
It says
and I was
6
like,
right now.
When
the
third panel came in, I was like, here it is. This is when we find out everyone's been listening to us.
Oh yeah, I see the number 6 too.
Yeah, what is that?
Who are those people?
Who is that? Well, you're the first person I've sent a link to besides Damon. So
I'm thinking Putin.
Yeah, I mean that's a given. I always assumed he was one of them.
The NSA. Yeah, the NSA has one link, and they all crowd around a laptop. Yeah.
And they all want to talk about The Rock. Or actually just watch someone else talk about The Rock.
Right.
And silently just argue with us.
It's like Twitch for watching movies. You don't actually watch the movie. You just listen to us talk about having watched the movie.
Cool. I can't wait to join you guys again in the future. Thanks for,
All right. Yeah. Thanks for coming in, Benny.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Down to 5 now.
Now we're down to 5. So Ed Harris. So he sends the incorrect coordinates on purpose, kills all the blue whales in existence.
Mm-hmm. But who was using them?
The rest of the bad men are like, WTF, bro? Like, what's going on? Okay. So it kind of revealed, and we do get a hint of that early because in the initial infiltration of the Rock, they make a point to tell us that those are darts. That, hey, those darts are going to wear off any minute. But they've shot a lot of guards as they get in.
Oh, when they're actually stealing the gas in the beginning?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we're given a little bit of a hint that this is a non-lethal operation.
A non-leth, as they call it in the military.
Yes, non-lethal. And then, so the good military boys come in, and they're caught by the bad military boys. Bad boys.
Yeah.
What you going to do? And
also directed by Michael Bay, but go on.
Yes. Yeah. And there's kind of a standoff, and he's like, stand down. No, I will not give that order. I said stand down.
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of really tense situation. They're all pointing guns at each other. And then on the perch, one of the bad boys accidentally knocks a rock down, which sounds like gunfire. And so the good boys start firing at the bad boys. And then the bad boys kill all of the good boys, except for our heroes.
Who were still in the sewer,
they're in the sewers. And so that's when it becomes lethal. And he's obviously very disappointed by this, Ed Harris.
Yeah.
But, the other guys seem pretty cash about it. They're like, we knew this might happen.
Yeah.
But that's before the rocket launches. So it's kind of weird to me that they didn't know. It wasn't clear that he was trying to do this not without killing anybody. But whatever. He also said there was money. So there's $1 million for everyone. And then it turns out later there's not $1 million. There's no money.
Well, the president, they can't get the money from the government. And
right.
So in Act 3, when they're right about to launch the missile, when the time's running out, the arbitrary time that Ed Harris set, the government's asking for more time because they're trying to do this transaction. They're actually trying to comply, presumably?
I don't know. It's not clear. No, probably not, because they are going to bomb the island and they've got like a team. Oh. They had it.
Well, Ed Harris is sort of torn because he doesn't want to do it. We don't realize that until later, but he's like, he has to stand his ground or else he'll look like he flinched.
Can't have that. You don't get a Purple Heart.
Yeah, and his team is very surprised when he changes the direction of the missile. But I mean, Tony Todd, Candyman, makes a great point at one point where he's like, I stopped being a soldier when you hired me to threaten a city with sarin gas. I am now a mercenary, and the whole point of being a mercenary is that you pay me.
Right.
I don't take over tourist attractions just for the sheer thrill of it.
For the honor.
Me and Tyler had lost our patience at this point with the movie because we were like, it was very much obvious how this would backfire. And Ed Harris seems so confounded that these people who seem to be going along with a plan to become traitors to the United States and threaten civilian lives turned out to be really unethical fellas. They seem to be in it for the money. Huh? How did this happen? And the movie is really gung-ho and really trying to get me to care about Ed Harris, even though his plan is completely nonsensical. And even if it's for a theoretical good cause, which is to get the honorifics and pensions back to the families of these men who had died doing secret operations for the government.
Yeah.
What does the city of San Francisco have to fucking do with that? What does Alcatraz have to do with that? Right. I mean, I hate to bring it back to Con Air, but I mean, because it's Michael Bay's next film after this, and it follows a lot of the same beats, that movie doesn't have to do a lot of legwork in trying to explain it. Not that this movie does a lot of legwork trying to explain it, but those guys are in prison. Of course, they want to get out of prison, and they're all dangerous. You don't have to do a lot of running around that this movie tries to do in trying to make Ed Harris into a sympathetic individual, even though literally everything he does is unethical, egregious, murderous, evil stuff. But it's but it's for the soldiers. I'm he's threatening a fucking city full of civilians. If he had taken over the Department of Defense, if he had taken over the Department of Defense, okay, this at least
military,
gels in some way, but you're just threatening a random city.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm supposed to give a shit that, oh no, your guys turned on you. Yeah, of course they did. You just signed their lives away. Their entire military lives have been signed away for your weird Quixote endeavor to, I don't know, get the government to do something.
Do back pay for
for special ops guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they all shoot each other in one fell swoop.
It reminded me in The Lord of the Rings when Frodo's been kept in that tower and the orcs just start fighting with each other. And Samwise just has to go up the tower and get Frodo. It's okay, I guess we just sort of hang out here. Me and Sean Connery are just going to watch you all shoot each other in a circle, and then we'll just take care of the last two of you.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's a dumb plan. It's a really dumb plan. And I feel aggrieved that the movie wants me to sympathize with Ed Harris, even though he's doing reprehensible things.
I think it's very important to point out.
Can't wait for whatever this is.
That in the Rock cinematic universe, aliens are real, as listed by. So, what's his name? John Mation's original crime, or one of the reasons he was wiped off the planet, was that he had this microfilm that had a bunch of things on it.
As I understand it, he hasn't actually committed a crime. He just knows so many state secrets that they wanted to sort of neutralize him, and they just put him in prison forever without any trial or anything. And at one point, one of Nicolas Cage's flunkies is researching him, and they see that he exists, but they don't see his record in prison or record of transfer or whatever. Like he's just sort of been imprisoned because he knows too much, essentially. Is that correct?
I think so. And he's got a microfilm of some sort with, I guess, a lot of disparate things on it. And one of the things they listen is the Roswell alien landing.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It's a laundry list that Leo McGarry is going through. And I'm like, hold on. In this universe, and this is not like Independence Day where it's pertinent to the plot.
Right.
We're just sort of breezing right past that.
In this universe, aliens are real. The Norse pantheon is also real. There are arms dealers who have become supermen. That's also real. What else you got? Oh, and Thanos has a glove with all these little gems. That's probably also real. There's probably a picture of one of those gauntlets in here. Yeah, it does harken back to a more innocent time when conspiracy theories are just sort of a flight of fancy. We're just having fun thinking of how these things might have worked out.
Certainly won't lay the foundation for the fall of the Western world.
We're just having fun.
I really would like to do some quotes.
Can we talk about the car chase and then do a quote roundup?
Sure, yeah.
First off, I have a question. Was that Sherry O'Terry dressed as old lady drag where that almost gets hit by Sean Connery? Because it's so obviously not a real old lady.
I know.
It's just like a teenager at
it must be like Michael Bay's
funny
niece
dance
or something. Like,
it
why?
Was terrible.
You're telling me there's no extras?
It looked like when Bugs Bunny dresses like an old lady. Like it was already an outdated version of an old lady. Like shawl, wig, hat. It was
and
so
she kept just being
out
like
of control.
Old, trying to get her scale. She kept trying to say it so she could get paid. Old.
She just had to keep saying you're old.
This car chase is like, I know this is 1996, but this was already ridiculous in 1996. It's not like, hey, let's excuse this because this was almost 30 years ago. It's like it was something you would parody then from the very word go, because it's got the old lady. It's got the San Francisco hills. It's got the unnecessary and unexplainable explosions. It's got a cable car or what are those things in San Francisco called?
Trolley, yeah.
The trolley. A trolley doing things that no physics would allow trolleys to do.
Yeah.
A very angry trolley driver.
This is a very stupid car chase.
Yes.
Please let the record show that I believe that. I really enjoyed this car chase. It was very dumb, but I don't know if I've ever seen a car chase that makes me think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's absolutely pointless to the plot. It felt like if they didn't include it, the movie would have been 69 minutes long and wouldn't be legally considered a feature film. Like they had to get something in there. So the premise of the car chase is that as Sean Connery, as a more likable Hannibal Lecter, has decided to work with the FBI to help them free the Rock, he escapes from his sweet hotel pad they've been keeping him in and steals a man's Humvee and starts careening around the streets of San Francisco, baby. And the entire FBI chases after him. Nicolas Cage, previously nebbishy bomb diffuser, now stunt driver, steals a man's Corvette and starts chasing after him. It's choppy to the point of feeling like it's parodying choppy car chase scenes.
Yes.
There's shots that are just hand cam zoom-ins on Sean Connery's face, and I'm supposed to believe that my brain is supposed to trick me into thinking he's careening around San Francisco. It works 75% of the time, but watching it a second time, I'm like, you're just tricking me into thinking he's doing anything. You're just zooming into his forehead. I will say this about Michael Bay's car chases.
Every time it cuts him, he just goes, shh.
He's just trying to make an S sound, and it just sounds like an SH sound. I hope you have insurance. An actual line from this movie. Michael Bay does a good job of breaking up the monotony of car chases with weird comical moments where you watch a trolley fall on its side and careen down a hill. And then the trolley driver being upset that this has happened, not concerned for his own life, but just mad at the situation. You get to watch a presumably Berkeley student tell Nicolas Cage that, oh man, you really fucked up your vet. And then Nicolas Cage steal his electric bike. There's weird moments like that that are peppered in that like break up monotony for me, which monotony being the car chase, which I found as good as any other car chase. Yeah. But I think he does a good job of like making it oddly thrilling, even though my brain is like, stop beating so fast, Hart. This is the dumbest scene we've ever seen. And it's 45 minutes into the movie. No one of import is going to die or get injured, or this will have no bearing on the plot. This is just a scene. And it ends with him just like, oh, I just wanted to see my daughter. And I was like, okay, could we have done that like with a line rather than, a car chase where thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of damage were done throughout this major city?
But I mean, I was concerned for the safety of the trolley. I mean...
Oh yeah, there were plenty of tourists on it, but are they more important than the tourists in The Rock, DJ?
Also, at some point, the trolley is empty. Like when it careens down...
Well, that's the great thing about a trolley. All the doors are already open, so you can just sort of gently fall onto the street and not be blown up and engulfed in flames.
But it's just weird to like get so many close-ups of the trolley driver and then not like any of them kind of getting off the trolley, just them being on the trolley and then angry and then an empty trolley like careening through everything. And then just the trolley driver being like, damn it, I'll kill you or whatever. He has some like weird lines.
Oh, and also Nicolas Cage finds a shortcut through a mechanic shop, I'm assuming. He breaks through a window that says, if you break it, we fix it. And he breaks through that window. Isn't that funny?
I still don't understand that. Can you?
See, he's in the mechanic shop. He drives into it from the back way. And then he sees a window ahead of him that would put him, I guess, on the street that Sean Connery's on. How he knows what street it is, I wouldn't follow. And he sees it and he goes, oh, why not? And he crashes through it. But the window, you see, it says, you break it, the car, presumably in the window's view. We fix it, we being the mechanics in the shop. But he just broke the window, sort of changing the whole paradigm of what the window is saying. Do you see what I mean?
So you're saying it's a layered interpretation.
It's a commentary on capitalism.
Yeah. Something I gotta do, Barb.
Oh, what a terrible written song. Let's get those quotes.
I forgot. I didn't write down the rest of it, but just when Nick Cage calls him an a-hole.
That is after the car chase? Hey, a-hole!
Yeah. And then just a lot of great Sean Connery lines that aren't actually great lines. It's just that he says them. Like he lets Stanley Goodspeed, Dr. Stanley Goodspeed, into the helicopter first. He says, after you, Aish. I just love that. Have a nice day, he says before he goes into the suddenly exploding furnace mechanical thing.
Oh, yeah. When he has to go through what looks like a Mario Brothers level that he has to roll through to get into Alcatraz.
Very Galaxy Quest. Why is this here?
It is very nonsensical. And why is it still functioning for not only a prison that's no longer in use, but a tourist attraction that has been sort of shut down for the day because of the terrorist attack?
And also, I mean...
And why does it have gears and flames? Like, what is that device?
And also, like, it doesn't seem like wintertime when this is going down.
Well, at night it can get a little chilly in San Francisco.
This is not necessarily a funny line, but so they were, I guess, the code name for our Good Boys squad, not to be confused with the
Bad Boys squad.
The Bad Boys or the Worst Boys, who are the bad boys who are even worse and kill the bad boys.
Bad boys for life, one might say.
Yeah. Sir, the Eagles have breached the tunnel system. You see, the mixing of Eagles and then breaching tunnel system, it's just, I don't know why that made me laugh.
We'll have one metaphor for them, but be very clear about what has been breached. I assume you got, losers always whine about not having enough time. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. I like a line like that because it tells me, hey, Damon, this movie's not for you. No one was considering your experience when making the film.
I did like when Goodspeed says, he has all the guns now, sir. Because he took the gun from him.
There is a really overwrought scene near the end when Candyman is fighting with Nicolas Cage. And Nicolas Cage has defused one of the missiles. He's pulled all the string of green gaseous pearls and has removed the microchip, but the rocket beads, is still there. And the camera really wants us to sort of notice that the rocket is pointed directly at Tony Todd. And Nicolas Cage says, delightful bon mot. He says, "Hey, do you like Rocket Man?" And Tony Todd says, "I like hard shit," or whatever the fuck he says. Something no human being would say in that situation. Even me, who likes Rocket Man, would go, "What? What are you saying? I'm sorry? You mean the Elton John song? Why are you talking about this now?" And then you, the audience member, has already decided what's about to happen because the camera work has like pretty much underscored it. We've mentioned Rocket Man.
He keeps looking at the fire button.
Right. He keeps looking at it, flicking his fingers around, and he's like, "'Cause it's you. You're the Rocket Man." And then he fires the rocket into Tony Todd, who gets shot into San Francisco Bay.
But then he says, "How do you like how that shit works?" What?
All right, just to make it every time a line is said in that scene, it just gets dumber and dumber. And it didn't start out really smart. It was just like, "Hey, here's a song that mentions rockets." And it's like, okay. Now I just want to be clear, I'm going to be firing the rocket at you. Okay, I mean, yeah, maybe some people in the audience needed that further explanation. Right. And then just in case you weren't sure, I killed you and I want to continue to humiliate your dead body that's half a mile away at this point. It's a really just great scene that shows me that I'm one of the smarter people in the room because this joke is stupid.
I feel respected as an audience member. That's what I like. I haven't got my glasses. I just got to say that one.
Maybe I'm losing my sex appeal. When Sean Connery's talking about being gang raped in a prison shower. I'm reminded that John Hodgman was once on some sort of, I think he was on a game show or something, and he thought that the questions were a little too easy, and he was talking to the producer, and he's like, "All these questions are really easy." And the producer was like, "Yeah, people like to figure it out. They don't want to be stumped." And that's what I like about a lot of the dialogue in this movie, is that it's just really just making it absolutely clear that even the lowest common denominator will feel like a smarty pants going into this.
"I drive a Volvo, a beige one." Okay.
Yeah, further like telling us, "Hey, this guy's real boring." I'm like, I just watched him drive a yellow Corvette through the streets of San Francisco. I don't think that really works anymore.
That's all I've got other than, so Alcatraz is the Addams Family house because they have a whole minecart thing.
Yeah,
there's a battle with minecarts.
It's very Indiana
Maybe
Jones.
There's minecarts in Alcatraz. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's an old prison. There might be a need to transport something via minecart before the pneumatic tube was invented.
Sure.
Yeah, it was very Indiana Jones. Also, this movie like gives you the false impression that rolling through, he doesn't roll through flames, but he rolls beside flames, and that still seems terrible.
Seems very hot.
It's very hot. It also, in that minecart scene, it shows them like crashing through wood. And I'm like, that hurts. Have you ever hit wood with your body, of any part of your body? Have you ever stubbed your toe or something? Like, oh, just put your head down and use the top of your head where your brain lives to hit the wood to break it.
It's very pointy up there.
Sometimes. If you were born vaginally, sometimes there's a little peak to your head.
Before the fontanelle grows
Oh,
over.
Yeah, before it closes up. One last thing, and I think this is, I like a title card that tells you exactly what movie you're in, and The Rock is engulfed in flames when the title card comes up. Yeah. It's not just like Times New Roman, The Rock.
No.
It's literally on fire, which I appreciate. Not to mention we got a very Pulp Fiction-y stab your heart with this, the sarin gas or whatever the MacGuffin gas causes you to break out in horrible pimples and then kills you. But it can be stopped if you stab your heart with this,
or slightly below your heart if you're Nicolas Cage.
Which I feel like is not something you can trust yourself to do. It feels like you'd have to get a third party involved. But it's in there, and it's only 2 years after Pulp Fiction, so you can only imagine that Michael Bay's like, yeah, put that in there too. Yeah, that's pretty cool. DJ,
Damon.
What do you think of the film, The Rock?
I don't know if this is the...
we've had plenty of lead-up time for you to make a decision about this film.
I don't know if this is the worst movie or the best movie, because don't get me wrong, this is very, very bad, but also I had a very good time watching it because it is so stupid.
Yeah.
It's not good. Your Inner Child is an idiot. I can't in good conscience say this is a good movie, but I also...
You can't sanction this buffoonery?
I cannot sanction this buffoonery, but I want cross stitches of all the dialogue surrounding in my home. I want to buy them on Etsy, and I want this entire room covered in them because the dialogue is absurd. It's complete lunacy, the whole movie. Nicolas Cage's performance is unhinged. Sean Connery is fine, but he has a lot of great lines, mostly due to his accent. Which is,
moosh.
Have a nice day. Your Child's an idiot. This is a bad movie. You should not watch it, but also maybe you should. You know what movie this is would be great for?
What?
Either if you're younger and you're in school, or you get an unexpected day off.
A sick day?
A sick
perhaps,
day.
Or a snow day?
Snow day. A last minute, you know what? I'm taking today off. That kind of day.
I don't think that's how school works. You know what? I'm calling in. Mrs. Johansson, I'm not coming in today. Oh, what? I can be arrested. Okay. All right.
I was expanding it to working folk. So this is good for that because it is stupid and yet enjoyable. And I will say this. It is too long. This movie does not need to be 2 hours and yada yada long.
How long is it?
It's like 2 hours, 15 minutes.
How much of that is that car chase in the middle?
1 hour,
45 minutes?
Yeah. What is your verdict?
I agree with you. In my notes, I have it as a perfect Saturday afternoon movie, which I feel like is the same gist.
Same.
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to necessarily do anything. I could be doing something, but I won't. Even in the terms of the Michael Bay-iverse, it is not my favorite Michael Bay. It probably put him on the map, but I think it's a little all over the place. As the listener could allude to, both in our episode about Con Air and the many times I've invoked its name during the course of this recording, I prefer Con Air. I mean, it is a stupid movie. I also don't think it's trying to be a smart movie. It's like, hey, what if Silence of the Lambs was kind of dumb? And that seems to be the premise of the movie, is like, what if Hannibal Lecter was played by Sean Connery and wasn't a cannibal? He was just awesome. And that seems to be the premise of the movie. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing. This is a very small thing, but when Sean Connery cuts the two-way mirror or one-way mirror, the interrogation mirror, he cuts it with a quarter that he smashed, and then he punches through it, but it just breaks like a normal mirror. It doesn't break where he cut it with the quarter. It just breaks like a mirror, and it's very stupid. I'm like, why didn't you just break it with your elbow, since apparently that has no consequences to your skin? But I can't hold it again. I don't want to say Your Inner Child is an idiot, because I feel like Your Inner Child also knew this was a stupid movie at the time. I feel like this movie sets out to do what it wanted to do, which was to stroke the egos of young cis-het white men. And that seems to be what it does in spades. It is a very stupid movie, but I can't say that it does not accomplish its goals. Your Inner Child is not an idiot. But
Whoa.
I think there are better Michael Bay stupid films, much like Con Air, or even Gone in 60 Seconds, which has the stupidity built into its premise. Pearl Harbor 2. Just kidding. That's a horrible national tragedy, you monster, for even making a joke about it.
What do you think, everybody? Email us, yourinnerchildisanIdiot@gmail.com. You can leave us a voicemail or text at 615-576-0525.
Can we do our patrons in the voice of... Do you want to be Sean Connery or you want to be Nicolas Cage?
I want to be Sean Connery.
Okay, I'll be Nicolas Cage.
We want to thank our patrons, including Travis Vance,
Damon's Australian accent,
Jonathan Day,
Captain Jean-Luc Picard,
Lindsay Nell,
The Hands of Fate. Wait, it's turning into Keanu Reeves. Go on.
Dan McIntyre.
Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Damon.
Your volume is not loud enough, but I'll allow it.
Sometimes he whispers.
The elusive Van Gromkin.
The supreme ruler of this podcast, a-hole.
Shit on the cartouche. Now it sounds like I was saying sit on the cartouche.
Right, that's true. That's the tricky thing. That's the tricky thing with Sean Connery. You just don't know what he's saying. Josh Frigo.
Dramatically placed hot dog. This is taking too long now. I'm sorry.
His Honor the Mayor.
Beth Shermont.
David Moore.
Just Cuz.
Scalphosaurus.
Dr. Malcolm's heaving bosom.
Particle Man.
T. Smith.
Karen Kurd.
The Zesty.
Jeremy Powlin. That was
Larissa.
Keanu Reeves.
Larissa Maestro.
That was a good Sean Connery name. Larissa Maestro. You got all those S's in there. Heather Tuggle.
Thank you all very, very much. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support like them, patreon.com/your inner child is an idiot. And now Damon will recite the Pledge of Allegiance as Nicolas Cage as we are played out. Thank you so much for doing that, Damon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I feel like in such a nationalistic movie as such as this, where the military can do no wrong, it's best to end the movie with a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all,
etc., etc.
Yeah, you get the. I think that
hopefully
was that the Pledge of Allegiance. I haven't said it since grade school. Literally,
I don't know. Actually.
I have not pledged my allegiance to any flag since then.
Great job.
Hand over the bunny. See, that's the Southern accent. That shows his range.